started. It says that I am, however, in the show.
All right, so it should say that now. Yep. 10 seconds. We've been recording. See, I never were activists, so I don't pretend to be professional. You know what I'm saying? You can look pretty. Yeah. I tend to pick my nose, and that's okay. Sweet. I like seeing your face. I understand why.
It's over there.
I understand why people get facelifts. Doesn't that look better? Right? Just pull the skin back.
It does. I should just get some tape back there like my neighbor wanted to do.
Look at those jowls. Anyway.
They're so cute.
When she does come on, I had some ideas of some questions we could ask. I wrote down about the big controversy that, that sparked all of this about food and veganism. So I'm going to get her opinion on, is veganism about food at all? Like, should we be mentioning food when talking or doing outreach with people? Just having her side, or even if she doesn't, just having her perspective is still valuable.
Oh, I was going to my chat GPT. There was what role do plant-based food systems play in protecting animal rights, and how can they be promoted more effectively on a larger scale?
What's up? Oh, I like it. I'm so tired, Malaina.
I know, dude. I have been trying to take a break all week from everything, because that 3-hour time difference I went out there on, and 3 hours coming back. And I was my whole schedule was messed up as far as sleeping and everything. I didn't have any plant-based goodies out there, or anything to knock myself out with, and all that. And that's just how I usually wind down at the end of the day, because I'm just always go, go, go. So I was up till 2, 3 in the morning and getting up early, and my events weren't till later in the day, but I was still, just kind of trying to get myself together with all the time.
Good thing that they were later in the day. All right, so you had to Uber everywhere, so you spent a fucking fortune.
Oh my gosh. I think $420 was my limit, and I spent about $390. I thought I had broken the budget, but apparently not. But wow.
No, that's a lot of Uberage. Okay, well, how was it out there?
It was nice. I didn't get to really explore California, but I complain all the time about Florida and how hot and humid it is here. And I get off the plane in LA, and lo and behold, it's a heat wave, 111 degrees, and that's not with humidity. The day that I got there, 106, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And all I was thinking, I'm not sure what the Greek mythology is. It was the Iliad and the Odyssey or something. I don't know, where the guy went up with the wings. He had made wings, and the sun burned his wings, and he came crashing to earth. And I just kept thinking about that on the plane. I was like, if it's that hot in the sky. Fantastic week. Lots of really cool people to meet.
That's the best part, I think, meeting all the other activists that you see doing their thing from a distance, and you get to see them up close and personal. That's kind of cool. I love that.
Yeah, that, and not to mention, I got to meet Maggie Baird, who's the mother of Phineas and Billie Eilish, and runs Support and Feed, which is doing incredible work. And I got to learn about the cool things that the arts and music industry are doing to be more climate friendly and push more in a plant-based motion. And
because what was the purpose? Anderson, right? But tell me the purpose. What was your purpose
of LA Climate Week?
Yeah, your purpose specifically for the plant-based.
LA Climate Week is. Yeah, so this was the first inaugural event that happened in LA, and this was even more exciting because it was actually bridging the gap between the animal rights movement and the climate movement, because in the past we have not been invited into these forums and spaces to talk about animal agriculture and its effects on the planet and the animals and our future. And this was awesome because Plant-Based Treaty did 9 events in person as well as 2 events online, and we had so many people sign up to hear us speak that we had a waiting list on all of our events, which was super cool because just saying plant-based in the title and having people want to come and hear what we have to say about it is incredible in its own. And we got to meet people and policymakers. We got to present at the West Hollywood Town Hall, where Chelsea Byers, the vice mayor, she got it implemented to have all their events plant-based by default within West Hollywood. So we gave her an award, and we talked to other people who were in change maker situations, and we got to meet Jerome. I can't remember his last name, but he's the youngest advisor on climate change to the White House, and he also spoke about animal agriculture. And all the people in the room were not vegan or plant-based by any means, but they were listening, and they were intent to hear what we had to say, and the conversations after were very positive. So
fabulous.
It was really encouraging.
That's awesome. Because, you know, from my side of things, I haven't been in the movement that long, not as long as you anyway. And I've always heard that the climate activists, most of them are not vegan, and they don't really want to hear that message, right? They don't want that part. They're, we'll just climate. They don't even consider the animals, some of them. So, but they're rude about it here in Canada is what I thought. But so hearing that's awesome. This effort of collaboration that wants to take place. I think that's fabulous. Did you get to do some speaking out there?
I did, not a lot, and I think that I would have preferred to have formed my speeches a little better. I was just kind of going out there to help and assist with all of our LA crew that had took less than 3 months to put together this event. So I was doing a lot of helping, but I did find myself in front of the mic a time or two.
Nice.
We were on the steering committee.
Nice.
Cesar, with Plant-Based Treaty, our LA crew, as well as Jane Velez Mitchell was on the steering committee for this whole LA Climate Week. So now that we're even on the steering committee, gives us a bigger in for future events. So I stayed with Jane Velez Mitchell of Unchained News. And so whenever I was going to the events, the ones that she couldn't go to, I was assigned to go ahead and take some clips of each of the events. And I actually have to put together some captions and send them to her today because she has an editor. So they can be moving into a whole other world now.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I can definitely send those to you.
I'm getting cold. Just give me a fucking second. They have no heat on this building. I just dropped my cat. Give me a second. You okay, Bubba?
No.
Come here. You're bounceable, right? Yeah.
Ooh, look at those legs.
I'm so fucking awkward. This is why I can't do live shit. I'm so awkward. I mean, it would sure be funny, but there'd be definite pauses. Poor guy. Sorry, bud. He was a little stoned to have him on gabapentin. They're kind of bendable when they're stoned, though.
Poor kid. They have 9 lives. I mean, I
think it's fine.
Oh, you got your vegan Russell.
She says her browser doesn't support. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'll quickly do. I'll end this and I'll do a Google, and then I'll record the Google and just stick that in. Okay. Yay!
Yay! I like your background, Malaina. Oh my God, where is that?
I'm trying to get rid of it, but I want to be there, like in person. I want to be where you are. Yeah, but my hair keeps disappearing. Like I need to get this off.
Oh yeah, you kind of look a little ghostly.
I have to add, your hair is fucking awesome.
Thanks. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you.
Love
I just topped all mine off.
I got a lot of product in mine today. Like a lot of product. But you still have your dreads in the back, right?
I was going to say, I have to kind of like put my dreads out and stuff, you know?
Yeah, show them off. Absolutely. Sometimes like they just make it too complicated, right?
You got it! Yay!
And the comedy show starts now.
Michelle. It's so good to see you.
Oh, I'm happy to see you girls. That's cool. So what's your whole when did you start this and what do you want to like talk about basically?
Do you want me to talk, Malaina, or do you want to go first?
Well, I mean, I could say a little bit about it. I mean, Jareen and I were just kind of, talking with different people in the animal rights movement, and we've heard some things that we weren't too crazy about the messaging, because we believe that we're going to reach animal liberation collectively by using different means. And it's not just about, saying, hey, this is happening to the animals, vegan now, and that's it, because we have to foster this change now, because now we got somebody who's, wants to go vegan doesn't know how to. So we do have to talk about food, and we do have to talk about
Yeah.
and we do have to talk about environment and all these things that people don't want us to talk about, but it's all
Mhm.
interconnected and we have to do it. And it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's just the way that it goes, because we can't just, that's why we have so many people who are claiming to be vegan, but aren't really, because they don't understand what it is to be vegan and what it means,
Yes.
and the implications and like the greater, you know, spectrum of things. Obviously we all work
Mhm.
on this treaty. So we talk about everything, you know, and
Yeah.
it's all very important. So we were just discussing, you know, different things in the animal rights movement about people policing each other, vegans policing other vegans, telling what they should or shouldn't talk about. And they're spending time doing that instead of helping the animals.
Right. Exactly.
I do believe in constructive criticism. I believe, you know, if you see something that somebody could be doing better, you know, hey, you know, I love that you did this, this, and that is a great way to start. And then,
Yeah, exactly.
I think that maybe if you talked a little bit more about this or implemented this, or, you know, this could go a long way. And I think that that's a better way to speak to people than to, you know, you guys all suck, you're not talking the way I want you to, and, you know, these kind of things. And I felt like maybe we had something to
your point, Malaina, with the plant-based treaty, I actually made a whole bunch of modules at one point, and one of them is know your audience, because I was saying that's exactly it. Like sometimes what you would say to one person's not necessarily going to work for the other person, so you have to adapt, right?
Exactly.
100%.
And then to add on to that, that's exactly, she's so good at speaking, right? That's why I have her. She's beautiful, and she's an awesome
both of you.
I know, she's amazing.
Give yourself more credit, Drew.
Sorry.
I love you all.
I know, right? What I'd like to add to that is it's not just the policing, right? It's when you do that, when you start policing people will leave the movement, and they have left the movement because they feel like they're not doing a good enough job, right? When you say that there's only this way, you're doing it wrong. Malaina's right. There's a way to do it. You know, you can do the shit sandwich where you do the, you know, the good, and then you mix it in with you can do this better, and then finish it off with another good, right?
Yeah.
And there's certain people out there, we don't want to mention their names, right? We don't want to give them any more glorification, because some of them are just going out there and they're causing a ruckus and a rift in between all of us just to get the fame and the notifications. Oh, look at me, right? And they're not doing the work. And so we wanted to call them out without actually calling them out.
Yeah, that's smart.
Naming who they are, because we don't want to be hypocrites, right?
And they'll know anyway. You don't need to say names. They'll be like, oh, they're talking about me.
They will.
We don't want to be the people who are knocking the people who are talking about knocking the people. So we have to try to. But I mean, there's so many different issues, and I feel like, you know, whether it's a political thing or not. I mean, we all feel you know, how we feel about our politics and things like that. We've had a lot of groups come out lately saying that we should talk about Palestine, this, that, and the other. I also feel like if I do have thoughts and feelings on these things, but I feel like if I change my platform on social media to something else, it's going to distract from the animals. And it doesn't mean I don't have human feelings and like feelings about people, a lot going on. And I also feel like I need to be a little more educated. There's my husband.
Hey.
But I feel like I need to be educated a little more on some of these things before I start using my platform to say things about it and getting into all these other issues that I'm not as well versed on. But I do have feelings.
But to your point, Malaina, your platform is for animals, right? Like there are the most oppressed beings on this planet everywhere. So it's like at the end of the day, that's what we're using our platform for. Like we don't want to deviate from and it's not in a mean way. It's not like I don't want these people, like I want these people to stop dying too. Like it's absolutely crazy, right? But I still use my platform for the animals. Like we could show some support in some ways, but like you said, we don't want to deviate from the actual main message. I've actually had this conversation with Vaughn recently about like, he actually got some riff from the sanctuary because when the whole thing happened with George Floyd and all this stuff, he made a post about the animals and all this stuff, and people like ripped him a new asshole just because he wasn't talking about what was happening with George Floyd. And it's like, that's not fair. Like he's running a sanctuary, he's talking about the animals, like the animals are first and foremost, and they're already suffering all over the world. So it's like, why would we then change to the one thing that everyone wants to mainstream media? Do you know what I mean? Like, not fair.
No, I completely
agree. Well, it's nice to hear other people on the same page, but but yeah, that's where we kind of came up with this whole idea.
Yeah, that's cool. I think when you get put down enough in your life, right? The last place you want to get put down is in this. Like, I didn't think that I would get bashed by other vegans this much for doing the same mission, you know? It doesn't make sense to me. And, you know, I'm a big believer in trying to keep the communication lines open with people. So, you know, learning techniques and stuff like that. But I want to know more about you, Michelle. This is why we have you on here.
Aww.
So, we know that a lot has gone on with you lately, right? You've had a busy freaking year. A lot of things have happened, right?
Yes.
So how are you right now?
I would say that right now I'm the best that I've been, especially like knowing what has happened in the past year and moving from Costa Rica now to Colorado and just settling in basically. Like, I think what I'm living right now is like a dream come true, like being at the sanctuary, being surrounded with like 180 plus animals. And I mean, I had a scare just a few days ago with this guy. He literally, I thought he had his, look at his little tongue. I thought
Bring
he
him
had
closer. I can't see him. Bring him closer.
Bagheera, see everyone.
Bagheera. Look at that.
Oh
face.
my God, he got found in a vent, girl. Like, we thought he had escaped on the sanctuary, and he literally got found in a vent. So, like, just again, like, these guys were lucky. Like, the 3 cats are getting along really well with Vaughn's dog Buster, who's like 14 years old.
Aww.
And like, but other than that, other than these animals, we have so many other animals to care for here.
How many?
And about 180 plus now. So they had 200 plus, but obviously over time, some of them die. And so I'd say about 180 plus now, maybe 185. And again, tons of goats, tons of chickens, tons of roosters, tons of ducks. We have 2 donkeys, 2 cows, and the goats are the best. Like, I love the goats. Like, they're the sweetest. Except when they try to ram you, but that's okay. There's like one crew on the sanctuary, Cappy's crew, where they're like more antisocial and we don't really mingle in there because like Cappy tries to mess you up. Which like actually there's an image of Cappy right here, like a painting, because he had like a weird kind of horn, and that crew is like over here. Like, you'll see like Krampus in the background where he's into Halloween and stuff. It's weird stuff.
Nice.
But you can see that's the crew of goats that we don't really mingle that much with because they might they're afraid or they might try and attack you. Whereas we have like Charlie's crew on the other side, you go in there and you get like swarmed. They just all want loves and cuddles and stuff. So when I'm having like an off day, I'm like, okay, I need to go into Charlie's crew. Like, I just need to go sit there, and then they all come see me and comfort me. So that's definitely a dream come true. Do I miss activism? Like 100%. Like, the last time I did activism was at an AV, actually, which is kind of like along the lines of what we're talking about, because you know, they focus only on animal liberation and only addressing animals, when it's like, I get it, but sometimes you need to know your audience. Some people are coming through, you're talking about what's happening on the screens and stuff, but you don't necessarily need to only address the animals if they're talking about environment, or they're talking about their health, or they're talking, like, you kind of have to adapt, right? So I've always tried to like keep it to their rules, but at the same time it's hard because I want to adjust to the audience. So I'm going to talk about what I need to talk about that I know is going to be most effective, that I know is actually going to like create a change, right? Where they're actually going to go home and think about it.
So then weren't you in Toronto recently? And
yeah, that was, when was I last in Toronto?
I thought I seen you in a nice We the Free.
Right. Yeah, that was in June. I think.
Okay.
Like, it was it was right before I actually came and moved to Colorado. So I moved on July 28th here. And the month before that, I had stopped in Toronto before going back to Costa Rica and before moving my life and my 3 cats here to Colorado. So it's been a little wild. And I will tell you, I miss doing like activism because, as you know, I was really, really involved back in Oakville. And so going from like 100% to like not that much, like it actually helped when I read this book called Trauma Stewardship recently, because I was wondering, like, why did I feel so depressed in Costa Rica? And it's because I went from like full on like 100%, like every day dedicated, like just focused on this so much, to like not doing activism at all anymore. And it was like obviously online and stuff like that, but not going to events like that was brutal. It was like a huge change, and I was mourning that Like I was mourning the fact that I was so active. I was nonstop. Like it's like there was no time to breathe or eat. Like half the time I was eating standing up so I could get to the next event. You know what I mean? In between clients and stuff. Whereas like having a year in Costa Rica in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the jungle, and like, you know, getting the land ready and stuff like that, because I wanted to turn it into a sanctuary, like that gave me a good focus, but it wasn't the same. Like it was like I felt really astray and like kind of lost. So
but it's kind of funny how it was brutal and all that, but there's still the sanctuary was still in there. It's like you were still focused on a sanctuary, like you were meant to go this way.
Exactly.
And then you manifested it. Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
But being a part of a sanctuary has definitely got a lot of value in the animal rights movement. I mean, I respect the heck out of these people we talk about in the animal rights, that we always want to get a sanctuary and have one, you know, and bring in all these animals. But in truth, it's a lot of work, and a lot of people that we know that run sanctuaries don't even leave their property. But they're so valuable, because when we rescue these animals and get them, surrendered to us, we need you there to be there to take care of them and all that. You know, I just recently rescued a dog, which I didn't think would fit into my lifestyle because I travel a lot. So I always said I would donate to places and people who can and have that, that they can stay and do these things and care for them. It's definitely a valuable part of, activism, but I understand what you mean.
Before I met Vaughn, like he had not left the sanctuary in 8 years. 8 years, like nonstop, because I've really like understand what the lifestyle is like. Like it's like literally you do morning, right, where you're letting everyone out and all this stuff. Then you have afternoon checks. Then you have evening chores where you're putting everyone to sleep. Like it's a full day. Like one thing you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, and then you look at the time and you're like, oh no, I'm gonna go do this. Because it's a lot of animals to take care of, and like you basically put them first, right? So it is a lot of hard work.
How many volunteers do you have there?
I would say every day we have anywhere between 3 and 4 that show up between the morning shifts and the evening shifts. But these guys were doing so much better before COVID hit. Like they had like almost like hundreds of volunteers. Like they would do a work day and like 80 people would show up and like things like that. Whereas now, like we're lucky if on orientation we get like 3 people. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very, very different. Like ever since like after COVID is kind of like where things just change for everyone. No one wants to do anything anymore.
I know, we're finding that everywhere, right, Malaina?
Yes, I would definitely be over there helping you if I could be. That's for sure. I've had color on my mind for a long time.
Yeah, me and Malaina are actually we were just talking about that actually, Michelle, the other day, that next year, like I don't really want to do a whole bunch of traveling, but I said I'm willing to go see Malaina, and then I'm willing to see you. So why don't we just meet all Colorado? Yeah. We could possibly even take a couple of days on a drive and go down, and she could fly, right? Whatever.
Yeah,
I think that's a great idea.
Trip.
The funny thing is I've not met Michelle in person yet. Through Plant-Based Treaty and other actions you've done, and I've always followed and admired your work. And it's kind of funny because you've moved to Costa Rica, and I was like, I'm going to move to Costa Rica with Michelle, and then you're in Colorado. I don't even know you yet, but person. I'm definitely a fan, and I definitely love what you're doing and following your journey.
Same.
Can I ask what inspired you to become an animal rights activist? And was there like a point in time that really like motivated you to take that path?
Well, see, this is where I think it's important to address all points, right? That it's not just about like, obviously it's always about the animals, but there's different ways to reach people. And for me, it was health. It was literally for health, right? Like I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2012. And that's where I started implementing changes to help myself with my health issues. And the more I did that, then the more I explored documentaries and things like that that were related to animal rights. And then I was like, holy shit, like I can never go back. Do you know what I mean? Like I need to like dedicate myself to this. And then it became a lot about, I became an animal rights activist because you're vegan for so long. And then you realize like, I need to do more, right? Like being vegan is not enough. Like, I mean, no offense to the people that are only vegan, but at the end of the day, you start there and then you need to like do something because like just being vegan is not going to help the world change. Like, and the world is a disaster. Like, it's like when you actually look at what's happening in the world, even just with Vaughn, for example, okay, he receives 2 to 3 calls a day at least where he has to refuse animals, because it's like we would be a hoarding situation. We would have like thousands of animals everywhere because people every day are trying to surrender animals, whether it's they got a rooster out of their, chickens or whatever. They thought that they would be chickens, but one of them's a rooster, so now they have to get rid of them, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just like a constant stream of like having to say no to people, man. It's like so overwhelming. And so it just goes to show, like, we really need change. We need people to be aware and to see animals as more than just animals, Like, people are so like, oh, they don't have feeling, they're not sentient, blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, we all know that's a lie. So, like, stop trying to justify their murder. Like, it's messed up.
Exactly. So speaking of that, I don't know if you know, but I started doing speeches recently, Michelle. I'm not very good at it yet, but
poetry, no? You mean poetry or
no? I started like at Veg Fest and stuff. I stared doing speeches, right? Yeah.
Okay.
And now thank you. One of the things that I actually like, I go nuts for Melanie Joy. Okay, I love Melanie Joy.
Yeah, me too.
I'm fangirling all over this chick, right?
Yeah,
and she's on my right. She's my podcast girl.
We saw her at AVA.
Yes, we did. I was like, drooling, right?
Yeah.
But I think what you touched on is some of the things that I mentioned besides Melanie Joy, and is the connection that we have or don't have with the animals that we eat, because that's not how we were raised, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, to bring back that connection. So what are your thoughts of reestablishing that connection or fostering it? Because when I do my speeches, I'm telling people, it's got to start in the schools. It's got to nurture that compassion, make it a priority in children as they're growing up, put it in school systems, all that stuff, because they're just teaching carnism. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Like, it does start with kids somehow, because if we look at the older generations today, like, holy shit, like, sometimes it's not even worth having a conversation with them. Whereas, like, kids, they're all innocent. And I always say, and you've heard me say this before, like, we're all born vegan, right? We're all born vegan. It's just we get conditioned away from that because of how the systems are created. So it's like, we literally need to address the kids in school. Like, the fact that they still allow dairy, like, that's almost like the one, like, it's sponsored everywhere. And it's like, how is this still a thing? Like, we already know that, like, it's basically super bad for our health, that it's basically creating all of this mucus forming shit inside of us. And it's like, why would we want to give that to children? And like, we're not even telling them the truth. We can't even tell them the truth because we know that it would hurt them. It's like when we're doing AV stuff and parents are covering their kids' eyes. It's like, why are you covering their eyes? Like, yeah, it's horrible, but that's the truth. Like, that's why we don't want them to be a part of that and be contributing to that, right?
Exactly.
So to your point, I think that's huge. Like, I think the education system needs to be revamped, and we need to show what it's really like and to give them other options and alternatives. Like, they need to know that they don't have to be doing this and they don't have to partake in this ridiculous system that we've created.
Exactly. No. Perfect. And like, at one point, I'm like, oh, everyone should just go to a sanctuary, but it's just not happening.
Yeah.
Right? We're just not going to sanctuaries, and we can't be bringing the animals to them because that's called the traveling road zoo. That's bad. Right?
I know.
So,
and even bringing them to sanctuaries, to your point, I think we're all AAM mentors, or that's how you and I actually met, Doreen. Oh my God, that's crazy.
I know.
So just think about, like, I had met people in Mexico at that point, and one of them was working with Earthling Ed, and we created a whole program on how to bring kids from schools to sanctuaries. But then the biggest issue is the parents. Right? The parents are being awful. They're like, oh no, like, I can't do this at home. Like, I don't know how, I don't know. So we were trying to put resources together so the parents wouldn't be in denial of what their children really want, which is like a cruelty-free life, right? Like, who wouldn't, like, that's one of the things I think to myself, like, how was I lied to my whole, like, how is this hidden from me? Like, how did I never know until I started watching those documentaries and realizing the pain and suffering that the animals are going through on a daily basis, right? Like, the numbers are incredible and they just keep going up. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. Like, I think if kids had a choice, they would choose compassion. Like, they wouldn't choose like, oh no, let's just like slit all these animals' throat and put them on my plate and not even think about it. Like, that would not be the option.
Exactly. And Malaina, seeing as you're deep within the plant-based treated, I mean, I'm with the plant-based treated, but I got fired. So
why did you swear too much? What happened? Why did you get fired?
She's a mess.
Man, I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. I'm an activist, okay? And they wanted me to do political stuff. I'm not good with politics. I hate fucking politicians. I did all the emails and stuff, but you know, then I posted something that one of the politicians put up asking for, you know, he was the Red Deer guy. Meat, eat more meat.
Oh,
you know that guy.
Right.
But they asked me to remove it. But they have an idea. I'll probably cut this out. But they have an idea or an image of who they think I am. And I'm not that person, right? And which is fine. I don't want to do the politics. I'll still promote the plant-based treaty. But I want to ask Malaina what she thinks about that aspect of bringing, like, is there anything going on in the plant-based treaty that might be focusing towards younger education? I know that they have universities and stuff, but whenever I've asked for something for early childhood development, I don't see it. Do you know of anything?
We are working on it. And I know Ellen Dent, who I work closely with.
I was just going to say that.
She's been working on Aria's school, the first one she had where they were bringing in plant-based snacks and such. I'm not sure exactly what happened with it. I guess when she moved her, somehow that she ended up not getting back into the program. I don't know if it was because of what they were doing or not. But I know that right now she's like able to read stories and stuff to her child's classrooms. I know there's other people who I'm speaking with because we do have a lot of young activists within our community that go to regular schools where they're coming home and saying, you know, Mom, you know, they're saying, let's go see the animals at the zoo, or let's, you know, or these animals are food. And these kids are like really confused because they this is not what they were taught. And this is, and then I believe they were taught the right way. You know, we shouldn't be telling kids that they, you know, this is, you know, we're animals. You go see them in a zoo. They live in nature. They live in the wild. You know, and our school systems are terrible because they will not fund the school lunch programs without having, you know, breast milk of a cow involved in the menus. So I had a great opportunity to work for Solid Rock Community School, which is one of the only plant-based schools in the United States. I think the other one was by, it was a Cameron, James Cameron, is that the correct last name? I always mix up the two James ones, but anyway.
Is that what Shannon works at?
That's where Shannon Evan is going there, So, I mean, while all the students and the parents were not vegan or plant-based, we did have a garden out back. I did fix our salad bar using the fresh stuff that was grown out in our backyard at the school. We did serve all vegan plant-based meals. We did have kids coming back and asking for seconds. We had on Fridays, we had a class where Shannon taught, and it was animal friends, and we talked to them about what was happening at the time. Of course, Alita's not with us anymore, but we spoke about the, you know, the Miami Sea Prison, and we spoke with them about what happens to animals in the dairy industry. And these kids would go home and want to ask their, you know, the questions to their parents and talk about this. And, you know, the parents knew that this is where they're sending their children, but still didn't really want to dive into these questions and stuff. But with plant-based treaty, I see a lot of really great opportunity. We do have our playbook, you know, I think mostly finished for the colleges and universities. And I've had an amazing opportunity to work with a group at the University of South Florida called SPEAK, which is Students Protecting the Environment and Animals Through Knowledge. And since I met them and gave them plant-based treaty materials, I'd synced up with them a little bit later, and they had told me they were tabling every Tuesday for plant-based treaty. They were also using our endorsement sheets and getting the U numbers of each of the students. And instead of saying, will you endorse the plant-based treaty, they were using it as a way to get like a petition for plant-based foods in the school. And they were signing it. So I said, I don't care how you ask them to sign it. I mean, that's something that they're going to do. Let's do it. Because working with these students is definitely a great place to start. They're finally leaving their houses, away from their families and parents who tell them how to eat, what to eat. They're able to vote for politicians who are, you know, synced with their ethics and their morals, and they're able to use their voice more and make all these decisions. So I think that starting with the young people is definitely a great place to start, and the younger the better, obviously.
Yeah, because I think to Jareen's point, like, we do need to focus on kids. Like, people, they might not have as much power, but it's like kids and parents, basically. Because it's like, you already know your child doesn't want to be a part of this system. So how can we change your habits so that we could help implement it in a more positive way for everyone, right? Like, it's
how
really
you approach that. Yeah, like how you say things to people it's really important on how you say it. Like, if you go in with guns ablazing and demanding that they make these changes, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
I have to give a quick update. Okay. I know, because I'll forget. I just have to do it right now. I'll cut it out later, whatever. So I went to the foie gras restaurant, Malaina.
Yes.
Okay. So I went there to demand that they drop foie gras, and we were going to do an in-store disruption and everything. I had my camera guy ready. I had my little megaphone in there, asked for the manager, started
They
having
dropped it.
No, but close, close. We had a really good conversation, right? And I asked her for her perspective, and then like she was giving me everything, and I'm like, okay, that's good. Now I hear what you're saying. Now listen to us, right? We've sent the emails, we've done this. I go, I have planned on doing a disruption in here today. I'm rethinking that because we're having such a good conversation here right now, right? Right, kind of thing. And there was no disruption, but at the end, she agreed with us. She shook my hand. We introduced each other, and she knows that after rodeo week, that if the foie gras is not dropped, we will be doing in-store disruptions, right? So, like, I agree with AAM's practice of doing the disruptions, but I actually wanted to ask either of you, do they do that approach first? Or do they just go in guns a-blazing?
I think they always do the approach first.
Right? Okay, because I wanted to make sure I did it right.
I was going to say, it's always good to give them the option in the beginning to have that, because everybody always asks, did you ask them nicely first, before you come in here,
Right.
Yeah, we do. We say, hey, look, this is the reason why we want you to drop this from your menu. We're giving you the opportunity to drop this from your menu. If you don't drop this from your menu, then this is what we're going to do. And this is what you're going to have to look forward to. And I think that that's fair enough. And I think that that's definitely the right way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put
So
that
yes, congratulations. Good job.
Yeah. Congrats.
But Michelle, I wanted to go back to you and not doing activism. Okay, so you're doing a ton of activism, right? Just so you know, just being with those animals is a fuck ton of activism, right? Like that's the best source of activism. However, I understand what you say because I can't volunteer at a sanctuary. Like it's just not my thing. It's physically too much for me. But so there's other things that other people jive with more, right? So you need to start doing something that's gonna like complement everything, right? So how are we gonna do this for you? Like, do you have ideas on how to be active where you are right now?
Oh, so many. So actually, to Malaina's point saying that the PBT dropped you, well, they dropped me too. We're both middle rebels. But I did reach out to I was having a conversation with Anita and stuff, and I was talking about because I'm in Colorado right now, and there's a good opportunity to be able to like do some PBT tabling and stuff like that, and at least start getting the word out, and at the same time, kind of pair up rescued friends with this and try to recruit more volunteers. And I think that's huge. Like the conversations that I'm having with volunteers that are not vegan yet, like that blows my fucking mind. But anyway, like why? Like sometimes,
for sure. I know.
Oh, I swear to God, the applications that I see sometimes, I'm like I love animals so much. Blah blah blah. Are you vegan? No. What? My mind is like blown. But I get it. Like it's still the conditioning, right? Like people have been conditioned, and I just have to like be accepting of that, and like to your point too, is navigate the right things to say so I don't push them away, and instead I bring them in and bring them in as allies who then become vegan. Right. And again, I think the PBT tabling is something that I'm still going to explore. I'm going to be traveling a lot this winter. So like I'm going to be going to Hollywood and stuff like that, which I think has a really big vegan movement. Okay. So I am going to be joining a lot of events to like kind of infiltrate myself a little more and again continue. Yeah, like I like the grassroots activism. Like as much as like over the years, I tried to get more politically involved and all that kind of stuff. And I was doing a great job in Oakville before I left. But I do like to have the conversations with people. I like to see where people are at. I like to be that person that's going to find the way to influence them to make positive changes. But I do think that we do have to focus on institutions more. And to both of your points, like we need to get them where they're young, like where they're really young and like they're already still kind of vegan, but they just before they hit all of the conditioning and all this crap. So I don't know like how early that goes really early, right? Because like as soon as the child
what is that, daycare before they even get to actual school, because that's where the big conditioning comes in when you have the educational system, because it's a carnistic system just like the medical system. It's all carnistic, right? So if you could at least start at an early childhood development, where they're going and they're going to the sanctuaries or they're saying these animals or something, I don't know, but as long as someone's working on it.
That's what Ellen Dant was doing when she started the programs where Aria was going. She was going in kindergarten, right? And it was this director that was a kindergarten director. They had 10,000 more of them, and they were supposed to spread out all of like, the meatless Mondays, the Wednesday, whatever, the Friday plant powered, like I forgot, they're just naming them all these different things. But obviously like I think just giving options. Like the thing is, kids don't have options. Like it's like one dead animal or the other. Like
Right.
instead of just being like, okay, you have a fully plant-based meal, access to every single time. Like it's not like it's not just a Monday or a Wednesday or a Friday. It's like every day of
Every
the
day.
week there are options so that they don't feel compelled or have to make the shitty options. Like they literally have, and it even goes for health. Like we all know that it's healthier too. So like why are we feeding our kids poison? Like that just blows my mind. Again with the dairy, right? Like it's because it's subsidized. Like it's literally like even last year in Canada we had so much subsidies still for dairy when people are dropping the shit left and right. Like they actually want to drink the nut milks and the things like that, which again is less of an eco footprint and is healthier for everyone. So like why do we even consider adding like the dairy and the milk and all that? And it's like, I'll give you an example, okay? I used to train clients in the morning, which just this week I let them go because one of them started more and more being like, oh, you know, I had some milk chocolate, like things like that, when like before he would just say chocolate and stuff. And then he started like daunting me. And for the longest time, I thought to myself, I'm going to help them get rid of the farm, right? Because their parents have the farm and all this. They're more in like the Amish community. And then he was like, oh, I'm going to a cattle trade. He told me that my last training session with him. And like Vaughn heard me just lose my shit for hours after that. I was like, and then I even told him, I'm like, do you find that, like, are you having fun talking about this? Like, you know that I've been vegan for over a decade and I'm an animal rights activist. And like, why would you even say that? I thought you were going to drop the farm. I thought when your father passed and all that, we were moving away from that. And he was like, well, I can't disappoint my mom. And it's like it just, so I can't even deal with these people anymore. Like I've hit a point in my life where like, I don't even want to cater to anyone who is like being a part of these oppressed systems, right? So now to your point, it's like literally finding ways to learn how to talk to people, but to learn how to get to the younger ages. Like I do think that that's huge. So I think like doing activism right now, like I do want to try and reach the younger populations. Like I want to try to get into institutions where it's like I could kind of infiltrate like the plant-based options and foods for people. And then as you get into those kids' minds, if they have the plant-based option, then they'll go with it. But if they don't have it, like how can you even like help them make any positive choices for themselves, right? Like it's really mind-blowing.
Aren't you a nutritionist of some fashion?
Yeah, I'm a holistic nutritionist. Yeah. No, and that's a whole other point too. Like even when I was studying at the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, like I only had one of my teachers who was vegan and she was doing the comparison diets and she would show though, like at the end of the day, like it's always plant-based for the win. Like it's always. So it's like, obviously if like you're a junk food vegan, it might not fully benefit you, but it will still benefit you more than all the processed crap and dead animals that people are filling their bodies with, right? Like, don't you want your body to be like a haven and to be like a garden of Eden versus like a garden of torture? Like, why would you want that? Like, it just blows my mind.
No, I see how your mind would be blown on that.
Yeah. And so to your point, in terms of activism, like I'm going to be traveling a lot. And like even my sister now, she's having a kid with her husband. Well, her to-be husband, they're not married yet, but they're engaged. And they're going to raise him Noah vegan, right? And so I'm almost considering, like I was telling Vaughn, like, let's consider like relocating a big part of the year in Vancouver so I could help assist with that and like even just get the child involved more. And like once there's a child involved, then to like Ellen Dan's point, like then you could get into school systems. You can kind of, I don't want to be mean, but you could use the child as like
you have to have an in.
Like, you know, like, why are we not doing this? Like, I don't agree that my kid is being forced this, you know? And so there's more of an option there. So I do think it's really important we address the younger generations. Like, we really have to find ways to get into those systems.
I think
broken systems.
Very broken, right?
Yeah. I've got a friend, a little off of the subject, but I have a friend that's getting ready to go to the same college that I was working with the students at the University of South Florida. She's vegan. Her daughter's vegan. They want to charge $5,000 for the meals for the year, but she's going to get less than a quarter of what people who eat, you know, the flesh of animals eat. So where's the fairness in that? So we're going to use that as an end to discuss, you know,
that's perfect.
Getting more foods in there as well, on top of the petition that the students were using as well. So,
Right.
but I mean, we're literally giving animals, to children who aren't even speaking yet. So this has already been thrust upon them without them even having any knowledge or communications skills yet.
Exactly.
So it's starting way too young, and we're doing them an injustice, and we're stealing their future from them. So it's definitely got to start somewhere. And, a lot of people, don't want us to talk about the food systems, but the food systems are super important. And if we can get animal agriculture turned around through talking, about food systems, let's do it. You just mentioned going over to Hollywood. I just, on another side note, I won't talk about it in complete detail, but I did just come back from LA Climate Week, where we were finally able to bridge that gap between the animal rights movement and the climate movements. And we had people on waiting lists, and we had 9 events there. It said plant-based treaty, 9 events, and we had waiting lists for people to come and hear what we were saying. And we just presented, it was great. Chelsea Byers is the vice mayor of West Hollywood. I just found out they've only been around as West Hollywood for 40 years, which blows my mind because I thought West Hollywood was around forever. But she implemented all their events to be plant-based from now on out in West Hollywood. So we gave her an award, and we fostered that. We wanted to bring that to light and say, yeah, you did an incredible job. Let's keep this going. And we got Jerome, I forgot his last names, but he's one of the youngest advisors on the climate advisory board for the White House, who was talking in detail about animal agriculture in front of a bunch of people who were not vegan or plant-based. We offered foods, sustainability, fashion show and art installations, and you name it. We had food at everything. So it's definitely important to give a high five to those who are making the changes, whether it's the treaty or not. I know Mercy for Animals had a big hand in that, so I have to say, but meeting these people and influencers and people who are acknowledging that we need to change our food systems for the better of our children and our future is fabulous. I mean, I'm still pinching myself from this week of meeting Maggie Baird, who is doing support and feed, and they were very candid about what they wanted to see within the city of West Hollywood and in our food systems. So I think it's super valuable conversations to bring up food systems, and I think that we're going to get a lot farther with that. I know pressure campaigns and things like that are extremely valuable as well, but lobbying and this institutional change is how I'm finding a lot of my mentees and all are wanting to go, because there's a push and doors are opening. So let's keep those doors opening and our foot in there.
Yes. And it's a bigger change. Like, obviously, like when we just focus on individual change, like it's one person at a time, and like there's shit tons of people on this planet. Whereas like if we actually focus on institutional change, then we're getting big masses of people at the same time to almost be forced to do some specific changes. And then they realize like, oh, it's actually not that bad. So it's like, it's really getting it on the forefront. Like, it's making sure that people are aware, because, how often have you heard yourself, like, people that go vegan that think to themselves, man, I wish I went vegan sooner. All of us. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all think that once we actually implement those changes and we do it, we're like, man, what was stopping you from doing this sooner? And oftentimes it's just the knowledge. It's like, we don't even know. So we do need to like get in the forefront of people's minds, and people who can create change, especially institutionally, I think is really, really important.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I think that's huge. And those who can do it, hats off to you. Right? You can go in there and be around all those politicians without punching them in the face. Hats off to you.
I'm learning every day, and I'm seeing that they are opening their eyes. I mean, we have the letters that we sent out. We have the city campaigns where we can send letters to all our politicians really simply, and we've been getting them calling us. I mean, I don't know, this is just from a letter being sent out. So they're seeing the need. I mean, we've been invited to a couple of them to reevaluate their climate action plans, which is really nice. So I think institutional change is definitely the way.
I think that's the way to go for sure. I agree with you, Malaina, right? I think that in order to make real change, it's got to be in the institutions, and that includes the educational ones as well. So
because it's systemic.
It is.
Not to say that any other forms of activism are not relevant and totally needed. So I want to make that clear.
Well, I think
but that's how both of you started. You started by saying all forms of activism are important and they all have their place. It's just obviously some could have a quicker change result than others, and they all work together though, right? They all work together.
Like there's no point in putting down someone who's doing their best to try to liberate the animals. Like, what is that going to accomplish?
Exactly.
What is that? Other than maybe a few more likes and YouTube subscribers on your channel? Is that why you're doing that? Like, it just makes no sense. You're an evil person, and there are evil vegans out there. Like, just because you love animals or supposedly love animals, you don't love humans. And, you know, I find becoming a vegan, I actually fell in love with humans more so than as a non-vegan, right? Exactly. So, I think it's a matter of education. Like, me and Malaina had a show prior to this. I think I aired it yet. I don't know. Anyway, we're all at different stages of development, right?
Yeah.
Emotionally, veganly, I don't know. But finding that right fit for that one person is really important. And to shut them down by saying, at the end of the conversation, well, as long as you're vegan, those deaths are on you. You're a killer. Right?
Yeah.
That's not my style anymore. Where it used to be. So we all change and we all find the place that's going to fit for us eventually, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see the point in putting people down. But I don't want to keep you too much longer either. I wanted to make sure that we asked all the right questions that we wanted to ask today, because we're gonna be talking about a few topics as well that are big in our area. Seeing as you're a Canadian and you're in America, there's a couple of topics right now that are big. So I don't know if you're aware of the animal justice expose here in Canada on the horses.
This new information was absolutely shocking to me, and it shows that the industry is even worse than we ever really imagined.
In June, City News reported findings from a joint investigation between Animal Justice and Japanese-based animal rights group Life Investigation Agency that showed that over 60% of shipments of live horses to Japan for slaughter, many of which departed from right here at Winnipeg's Richardson International Airport, exceeded the federally mandated 28-hour limit. But unfortunately, we are now learning that the horse's grueling journey isn't just long, it is also fatal. Japanese government records obtained by LIA show that 21 horses have died due to the traumatic experience in just the past year, with alleged causes of death including dehydration, stress, pneumonia, and other medical conditions.
Horses are dying. They're dying on the plane. They're dying in the hours and days after they land. Many of them are becoming seriously injured on the plane, and none of it seems to be being reported to the CFIA.
Japanese government data also showed that some mares had died shortly after arrival due to miscarriages.
These poor horses are actually dying because of the complications that are caused by transport. They shouldn't have been transported in the first place.
In contrast to these latest revelations, earlier this year, a representative of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency told a House of Commons committee that they were only aware of 5 horse deaths related to air shipments since 2013.
So if 20 or more horses are dying every single year throughout this industry, then that means hundreds have died in secret. No one's even known about their deaths. And we've continued, on this end, as always, business as usual. We've been talking about shutting the industry down for years, but the flights continue. There have been 2 flights this month alone.
Bill C-355, which would ban the air export of Canadian horses for slaughter, cleared the House of Commons earlier this year and is now in the hands of the Senate.
Right?
Yeah.
So
wow.
That's the big one here. And I wanted to know what your thoughts were on that. Like, did you ever was there anything ever done in Toronto or anything like that? Any awareness campaigns on that?
I mean, not for the actual live export for horses, because more like the horse-drawn carriages and stuff like that. And with animal justice, I was like joining like Burnabra, like the chickens, like that they call free range that are not free range and all this kind of shit. But I've never done the live export, anything along that. I've only seen what's going on with that. And again, it's like, just like anything, right? It's like, fuck, we could just name a never ending thing of like how many injustices and how much oppression there is in the world for our animal friends. Like, it's just a whole other level. Like, it's just disturbing. When you really break it down, it's actually really disturbing to see what we're doing to them. Like, it's mind blowing.
That what you mentioned before about how we all feel that guilt about not going vegan sooner. I think that's why some of us on this panel go so hard. Right?
Yeah.
To try to fight for the animals and go out of our way, and we don't know how to take breaks. Before I ask my other question. I want to know, Malaina, do you have like a particular question that you wanted to ask Michelle today? Or did you already ask it?
I could stay on here with Michelle.
I know you could.
We could all stay on here.
Totally
forever.
And I think that it would be awesome in the future to get on here and have some more conversations, because speaking with the two of you is just incredible, and I can learn so much. But no, I mean, as far as these things go with the horses, I mean, we definitely need education. We have so many people, and this is probably a little off of what we were saying, but we have so many people who love horses and dogs and cats, and they're so unaware of these things that happen. For instance, we did there's the black market horse meat trade here in Florida, killing 15,000 horses a year, and these are being stolen out of people's yards. And when we just had this backyard slaughter facility thing happen.
Do the right thing, make the arrests, bring these criminals to justice.
Protesters demand arrest be made after a Fox 13 investigation finds a racehorse was allegedly slaughtered for her meat in Hernando County.
We had people coming out of the woodwork because they love horses and they love, dogs and cats. I mean, if they understood what was happening to these animals and the scale that it was happening to them on, I mean, we would have so many more people involved, I think. But I'm just going to wrap up my questions. I mean, I think there's a lot of questions that I'd love to ask, and we can continue again. But I appreciate everything and all your insight for sure on everything, and I love that we can all come together on knowing that education and food systems and that is really relevant and important in this movement. But everything else, from pressure campaigns to just protests and things like that, are all super valuable as well. And it's going to take all of us in different ways and means to get there.
Oh yeah. And I think to your point, like when you really think about it with horses, like people love, like there's speciesism there, right? Like they love the horses, they love the cats, they love the dogs. And like, that's the thing, like there's so many we need to make people aware, because that would be one of the rotten apples that we could address right away, because people would be more upset and more enraged about it and be more prone to do something about it. But if you talk about the animals on their plates though, that's a whole other level, right? That's like, we really have to like go in deep for that. Whereas with horses, it's pretty easy to address because most people are going to say that they love horses, just like they love cats and dogs. And like, that's the other thing. Like when you look at, Asia, for example, where there is dog and cat trades, like even when I was volunteering at Soy Dog, when I went in Thailand, the shit that you see is just like a whole other level. And the trucks of dogs that they would be able to stop that they were trying to ship to like Vietnam or things like that like have been stolen from people, because obviously people who are feeding their animals are going to be more fattened up than like the dog that's on a street dog, right? So, but people would get really upset about that. They would get tons of donations and stuff. So sometimes I feel like those are the easy cases that we really need to drill in and drill home, because we could kind of get rid of that a lot faster than the whole animal system. That's just like the animals we're eating. Like that's just a shit show. Like it's disturbing.
I know. I like this. I call it the low-hanging fruit, right? Because now we're doing
low-hanging fruit. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, like Lucy the elephant here in Edmonton. That's what we're focusing on now. But because people will all come out for Lucy, right? They won't come out for animals on their plate, but they'll come out for Lucy. So you got to ride that wagon though. Because if you can get that fruit, you take it off, then you can just keep climbing the tree, right? And
you need to have wins. You need to be able to celebrate. Otherwise, like it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Yeah. Like even for us, like in Canada, when winter comes around, like then there's all the people wearing fur and all this shit. Like that's a whole other level.
I know.
But we've had so many fur or companies or organizations that were selling fur that stopped, even as much as like Canada Goose, right? And oftentimes, like when you tell people, like, do you know you're wearing an actual fox around your neck? Like people don't even make that connection. They're just like, oh, this nice coat with this, like they don't even think about it, right? So it's like that's another low hanging fruit. Like, do you know how many fur farms that have shut down in Canada because of bringing awareness to that and people not wanting to pay for that anymore? But try to take people's habit away where they've been conditioned. Like no one's been conditioned to wear an animal around their neck. Like that's not a thing. So it's like that's an easy thing to address, where you'd be surprised. Like there's so many companies out there that are still promoting that. Like that blows my mind. Like I don't get it.
There's so many issues.
Uggs. I'm sorry. Uggs just came with a vegan line. So why can't
I saw that.
skip the cruelty and just do the vegan line.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I told Bon. I'm like, we're not buying those. They could go fuck themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
My response to that.
Yeah,
absolutely right. But Michelle, I do want to say thank you so much for joining us. Like, you're always so compassionate and willing to help, and just feed us all your words of wisdom. There's so much to know about you. There's no way in hell you can get it down in 45 minutes, because we have we got to ask you questions about everything, right? So we're definitely going to have you on again. But I will do this one, and I'll make it all pretty and send this out. I won't wait like a month.
That's funny.
I think what I do like when people, podcasters or whatever you want to call them, they have that final question that they like to ask their guests. Yeah. And I usually, the old school dream idea, I'd always have that question. If you could say one thing right now to your fellow vegan, what would you say? Like, to give them some sort of support or emotional kick in the butt to get active, or whatever you want to say.
Well, that would be the thing, is like, be active. Like, you need to be active. Like, if we really want to make a difference in this world, like, the actions that you're taking for yourself is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like disregarding that. I'm like, thank you, right? Thank you for being on the side of the animals and like helping. But at the same time, like, you need to get active. Like, we need more people that are vegans that are actually taking action and that are helping more vegans be created, because we've seen a huge surge within the past few years, right? Like, I'll tell you, when I first went vegan in 2012, 2013, because there was a little bit more of a transition for me. Yep. When I went to the grocery store, I was lucky if I could find tofu. I was lucky if I could have like almond milk, right? It was mainly soy milk. And like, now there's entire sections in grocery stores. Like, I don't even have to look to see all the other cruelty, right? It's like, go to the vegan sections. So we are making a difference, but we need more people on the same page so that we can make a faster difference, because you don't want the animals to keep dying. So like, do something for them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well said, Michelle. Well said.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You are
you girl.
Wonderful human being. And I think people need to know a lot more about you. Like, we had our agenda today. We wanted to hit certain topics here and there, and we're just still figuring out our shit here as we're going along. But I really want you to come back so that we can talk more about you and all the things that you've accomplished since finding out you had MS to right now. Right? That's a lot of shit. So give us the highlights anyway.
Well, I think it's not even about what I've accomplished necessarily. It's more about like how we can help. Like you said, like the things you would say to people who are already vegan, never mind the non-vegans. Like, again, it's like, what can we do to help? Because, even for myself, like the first few years, it was more about exploring the plant-based, going to vegan, this is that, and doing my own transformation. Like, no one showed me to like watch documentaries and stuff like that. Like, it just happened like organically, right? But at the end of the day, like, we need to almost have, like, which PET is kind of doing, like, resource books to like give to people. Like, that's one thing. Even when I send out emails for the Volunteers for Rescued Friends, I've now tagged in the PBT starter kit, because it's like, I want to give the vegan starter kit, right? Like, I want to give them, which is this one right here.
The new one
where we have.
Okay. They did
not even like the. They must have updated it online, but this is what I have in terms of like, just to give people ideas, like, what can you do, right? Because a lot of people ask themselves like, but I don't know what to do. So it's like, well, here you have all the options here, so now do it.
Exactly. Here, no excuses. I bring it. Yeah, exactly. That's the new one. Okay. Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
Nice, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, I've traveled with this. It's just Costa Rica and Colorado.
Oh wow, yeah.
Condensed a little.
It's condensed, yeah.
Yeah, but it's got a really great poster. But then we also have the other ones that show you, how to go to lobby and do things like that. But definitely need to educate. Yeah, it's really great. Awesome. But
yeah, that's great.
Education. I'm not just a mentor, with animal activism. I'm a mentor all the time to anybody who needs me. So I always make myself available. You have an issue in your community you want to handle, call me. I'll tell you what we can do about it. You have an issue with not knowing what to eat, call me. We'll talk about it. Always making yourself available to people, because we have to foster them through these changes. I mean, we have to realize also that some people haven't even met another vegan in real life other than through they're only through the computer. So
that's true. Very true.
we're fortunate to have such a community, but we have to hold hands sometimes, and we have to foster these changes, and we have to make sure that they don't get the wrong information or fall off, because then we have people who say we used to be vegan, and
oh fuck, don't get me
nothing
started.
drives me nuts more than that.
That's another episode for sure.
That's a whole other episode. Let's talk about the people who used to be vegan.
Yes, that's another one. Yeah, but yeah, I think we're all on the right path.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right, my ladies. I'm going to let you go because I want to figure out how to stop the recording without getting rid of the recording.